Hey, my name is Daniel and I am one of the authors of the study Changing Climate Change Mental Models Through Game-Based Learning, a controlled experiment involving cognitive mapping. My co-authors are Nevena Sicevic, Zampeta Legaki and Juho Hamari from the gamification group at Tampere University in Finland. In this study, we used the game Climate Connected Outbreak. It is a single-player 3D narrative game that we developed and published to engage the public with climate change, and it can be played on traditional computers and using VR headsets. We then conducted a lab-based controlled experiments with 107 participants, where they created cognitive maps of climate change before and after experiencing an immersive VR game, a desktop PC game, or a text with graphs. Our results show that all conditions improved the quality, focus, and systems orientations of cognitive maps, but no significant differences were found between groups. The intervention effectively increased the salience of issues such as health and biodiversity impacts, even though changes were limited in scope. The game was on average more enjoyable than the text, with the VR version significantly more so than the other two conditions. These findings suggest that games can be a viable and attractive communication and learning method where engagement is a struggle. So why would we focus on climate change, cognitive mapping, and using games for this? Well, first, more decisive action against climate change is urgent and public engagement is necessary to push for and demand it. Second, our knowledge of issues such as climate change can be seen as structured in mental models. These influence how we relate to said issues and accordingly our decisions. As some mental models can hinder our understanding of risks and appropriate action, promoting more accurate mental models of climate change, for example as a complex system, can support in turn pro-environmental attitudes and values. And third, games can be a good medium for this because they present systems that can be learned through direct experience, incorporate emotional elements through characters and stories, and motivate players to engage with the game, the world, and others. Climate change engagement is a fascinating and very complex issue, so I recommend that you have a look at the paper for a more detailed and nuanced argument on this. Now a bit more about the game. We created Climate Connected to rigorously study climate change learning. The game begins in the year 2050, with the player surrounded by an utterly polluted environment and people and animals sick. Then a spirit of nature proposes the player to go on a journey around their apartment to find the connections between climate change and infectious diseases. Throughout the game, the player will find objects that represent nodes in the climate health system, play mini-games related to these elements, and complete a flowchart. You will find more information about the game in the paper. You can also download all versions of the game from the supplemental files of the CHIPLAY 2023 article Climate Connected, an immersive VR and PC game for climate change engagement. An in-person experiment was conducted at our university with 107 players divided into three groups: immersive VR game, PC game, and text-based control. The age, gender, and formal education level distribution across groups were similar, and 87% of the participants had some form of university education. To compare the learning effects of playing the game to reading a text, we created a PDF document containing the contextual information in the game, the flowcharts, and descriptions of the fictional world. To get to know and assess the participants' mental models of climate change, we asked them to create a map reflecting their thinking of climate change before playing or reading. By map here, we mean a series of concepts linked to each other. After the maps were returned to them and they were able to edit them as they wished. We then analyzed these maps in two ways. First, descriptively, for which we coded the data into larger categories for comparison. Second, statistically, for which we rated every map in terms of quality, focus on relevant climate change aspects, and systems representation, and used a variety of tests. We classified concepts into larger categories related to climate change: physical causes, human causes, physical impacts, ecological impacts, human impacts, mitigation, adaptation measures, and climate change descriptors. We found that after the intervention, all categories increased their representation in the maps. The largest growth can be seen in the categories of adaptation and ecological impacts. The categories that saw the most growth in terms of number of concepts were ecological impacts, human causes, and human impacts. Some of the concepts that grew the most in presence were health impacts, buildings, energy as a human cause, wildfires, and two biodiversity impacts: habitat loss and species migration. For the most part, the results were similar across conditions. Regarding the statistical results, we first conducted two-way mixed analysis of variance, ANOVA, to study the map's quality, focus, and system scores. The findings show that there is a significant difference between pre- and post-intervention map quality, focus, and systems involvement. However, there is no significant difference in post-intervention performance between text readers, PC players, and immersive VR players, nor between readers and players. We then did a cross-Wallis test to study possible differences in enjoyment between the groups. The VR version of the game was significantly more enjoyable than the PC game and the text, but the PC game was not significantly more enjoyable than reading. To understand whether enjoyment was a significant mediator of quality, focus, and system shifts, we conducted mediation analysis using the process macro for R. The results suggest that enjoyment was not significantly associated with shifts in quality, focus, nor considerations of systems in the maps. The results suggest that playing games like the one used here, when outcomes are measured through cognitive mapping, can result in similar mental model changes to more traditional medias. Yet, the intervention brought many additions, but limited alterations to participants' mental models. The influence of the initial maps was strong. Regarding the lack of difference between conditions, it should be noted that the absence of significant differences in our study does not necessarily imply the absence of an effect. Future studies with larger sample sizes and a more complete accountability of variance may be able to further elucidate the effects we investigated. About the apparent lack of an effect of enjoyment or cognitive map improvement, we must say that the participants who took part voluntarily in the study may have been motivated to engage with the content irrespective of the format and how enjoyable their experience was. We learned a lot from this study, so our paper includes multiple recommendations for researchers aiming to use the methods we employed here, as well as design recommendations for games in this area. So please don't hesitate to engage further with the paper and contact me for any questions.